It's a Safling carry that deals with Darkseer pretty well. I mean, it gives you some hard carry potential. I'm not convinced about it versus the Phantom Lancer. I thought drafting wise they were put into a corner just because some of their weird picks like Viper and stuff. I think a couple things that need to happen for Void Boys to have a chance of being able to win this game. First of all, Beastmaster has to have a good time. Ideally in the laning phase, looks like he's holding off on whether or not he wants to buy Iron Talon, which he'll probably see the matchup in Slardar, Winter Wyvern, and go, yeah, let's just go ahead and pick up Iron Talon, just make things easy. That needs to go well, and Viper needs to shut down the Phantom Lancer mid. SumaiL's mid Phantom Lancer, I'm interested to see how he does versus Susie's or 747's Viper, but
how do you handle that matchup? I mean, on paper, it should be pretty damn difficult. I mean, PL, he's elusive and slippery, but at the same time, it's a Viper's a Viper. Hold that thought, though, as we'll see what happens with the runes. Looks like it's going to be pretty standard stuff, as EG has a stranglehold on top, and at bottom, obviously, Void Boys will take the others. So, actually, table that question for just a moment. Cap will come back to it. For now, let's take a look at who's handling who as they make their way to lane. It's going to be Symbol of Peace playing on our Kunkka. He's hanging around the jungle right now, making his way towards mid. Looks like it will be a support, joined by OmegaPwner on the Oracle as well. Morphling, played by PatSoul. He'll be playing, farming in the safe lane, I should say. Mid will be played by 747, as you had mentioned. That's going to be the Viper pick. And Sneyking did pick up the Iron Talon, now ready to go to work here in the off lane. Now on the other side, Evil Geniuses, PPD, playing his, I would say at this point, fairly trademark Winter Wyvern. In mid, as you mentioned, SumaiL on the Phantom Lancer, going to be going up against a tough matchup in the Viper. Universe is going to start going to work in the jungle on the Darkseer right off the bat, using the Iron Talon as well. It's going to be Zai wandering around on the Bounty Hunter, trying to harass Sneyking and being pretty effective at least leeching some experience so far. And then, of course, Fear, who is farming up the Slardar.
I think part of the reason I wanted to see Iron Talon on Sneyking, it used to be thought that these kind of 4 positions like Bounty Hunter and Riki were too disruptive for you to run junglers, but I think that's not actually the case whatsoever, and we figured that out with Iron Talon being so good. Beastmaster is just able, like, look at him. He doesn't actually get low because he doesn't tank the creeps very much. Nice. Very well played by Sneyking, holding on like he was faking the right click. And looks like they caught Zai. Zai very quickly eating through the trees was a smart play. He just needs to try and wade out the dust, but I think he's going to make it.
Yep, the boar slow is real, and
it's close.
He's going to try to double it back. God. Oh, barely made it. Barely made it.
And too bad they don't have a second round of vision.
Sentry wards. But Zai's going to make it away, and as you said, well,
oh no! Oh.
I blame you. You're controlling the camera.
Alright. Viper died. Alright, so this is the answer of how well is SumaiL going to be able to do versus the Viper mid. Apparently pretty well. He just killed him. I mean, like, I think Phantom Lancer does, like, okay versus his matchup, but he shouldn't win it outright. Like, he shouldn't be able to pick up a kill. That is pretty absurd.
Not just the kill either, by the way. Even before the kill happened, I mean, I guess he did just get a few free CS. He was still hanging and banging with the Viper pretty even, 9 for 2 versus 9 for 1. So it wasn't as if he was being completely bullied out of that lane to begin with. And I'm actually really sad we missed it. I'd love to know what the hell happened.
Yeah, I have no clue. Nature of the ever roaming 4 position. Looks like they caught Zai and should be able to kill him this time around. They have this kind of cool combination. Oh my god.
Wow. Okay, so Zai's going to be able to make it away once again. As a little bit of a, would you call that a misplay from Void Boy or a good play from Zai?
No, that was, I mean, like, Zai, you can be like, okay, that was kind of smart of him to run backwards, but that was so poorly coordinated by these two, the 2 supports. Like, he should have been laid out the torrent and say release, and first of all, you put the torrent in the middle of the Bounty Hunter so he doesn't just run back on you like that.
Right. I
think it was just Symbol of Peace misclicking torrent, but
maybe a little nerves coming into it, you think?
But you can see, like, Sneyking, he's not low enough for Zai to actually kill him. I don't know what's going on.
All right, there we go.
All right, we're back. He's never low enough for the Bounty Hunter's harassment to actually have an impact. So the best you can do is soak half experience, but that's not actually useful because the Beastmaster is still progressing in gold, right? So you're just like, okay, you take half the experience. That doesn't mean much. So this is why Iron Talon offlane still works, even against these kind of roamers.
A similar piece there. He's basically the same level as Zai at this point, so that tells you how well that's going for Zai. Just showing the Leech experience and be disruptive. Thankfully for EG, though, the mid continues to go their way. Now 21 CS to the 12 of the Viper, so it's not even that he's doing well. He's dominating the lane, and Zai does manage to snag the regen rune right from out from under the Bounty Hunter. How about the carries? 29 CS for Fear, 23 for PatSoul on the Morphling.
Yeah, they're both having a free lane. It's pretty standard. Like, carries have a pretty boring time the first 10 minutes just because so many offlaners will abandon in favor of Iron Talon just because it's safer. Like, players like Moonmeander and Swindles, who are two American offlaners who are very outspoken about how much they hate Iron Talon, it's because they're not farming offlaners. Their playstyle is meant to be like disruptive and in your face and draw attention away from the mid lane, and that's just not entirely where the meta's at. It can still work, but it's much more Iron Talon and farming focused in the offlane.
So how do you feel about the Iron Talon? Just as a commentator with no dog in the fight.
Oh god, 747's mega dead.
Death number 2.
So I would say that it's not good. I mean, it makes offlane boring to watch. Like I'll be honest, Sneyking should be okay. Like as an offlaner, like when I play offlane, I like to be really disruptive, but so it doesn't fit my play style either. But I think it's also just boring to watch and too simplified.
That's kind of how I feel. Is I don't like anything in any game, be it Dota or otherwise, where it's just like, oh, okay, so some people, like, we want you to be able to get farm, so we're going to create an item that basically makes it so you can do one thing that already you have a role to do, you know what I mean? Like, it makes it feel just a little too farm-centric across the board, as opposed to playing with a multitude of play styles that are all suitable in the meta. But
the best suggestion I've heard so far is to increase Iron Talon's cost by, it doesn't even have to be that much, just enough that you can't buy Iron Talon and Tangos at the beginning of the game. Because that'll either slow down your farm in the beginning because you have to pick up Tangos and you don't have that activatable yet from the Iron Talon being complete, right, and you have to go back to complete it, or you start out with just Iron Talon, in which case 4 positions like this Bounty Hunter here would actually have a much larger impact because you don't have a source of regen.
That's fair. That's a really smart way to look at it. To me, like, lowering the percentage of damage, because it's really that first burst of damage on the big creeps that makes Iron Talon so effective. So if you lower it to something like 30%, I think that slows it down enough. It doesn't completely eliminate the purpose of the item, but it'll make it so you can't just use those front 4 Tangos to just continuously tank through and do well early. I don't know. What do I know? I'm just a guy who used to cast Dota. EG continuing to roam around. Zai has found himself level 3. He is falling pretty damn far behind. In fact, he and the Kunkka are the lowest levels on the map. Looks like EG wants to get something going, though, as they've now hooked up Universe and PPD with him.
Yeah, they Universe should never like show in lane against this kind of matchup, just because the Morphling's pretty dangerous, and then we should have seen the power of this combination of Oracle and Kunkka, where you have this really long ensnare that allows the Torrent to be able to land. Pretty cool combination, a lot of nuking power. So when Universe shows up in lane, I think it is a bit obvious that he's got some backup behind him, but obviously Void Boys, even if it wasn't completely obvious just from that read, they even had a ward in lane, so they shouldn't be caught out by this in any way. As I say that, though, OmegaPwner's a little far out.
Yep, here we go. Jumping ahead is SumaiL. OmegaPwner able to make it away. Torrent's going to be off the mark. X marks the spot onto the Phantom Lancer. SumaiL sent back. Symbol of Peace. Gonna double time it back to his tier 2. And it looks like SumaiL wants to play this out. Gonna hit the Spirit Lance. Doing good damage and will get a kill under the enemy tier 2. This is a major dive taking place back there. In the meantime, the rest of EG just continuing to peck away at the tier 1. So pretty much no response whatsoever out of Void Boys.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting that EG, like, that is a 5-man rotation before the 10-minute mark. Now, it's not that weird to evade the enemy safe lane. Like, very common factor ever since TI5, where CDC, they were the team to do it the most with aggressive, or at least they were the team to do it most successfully with their aggressive gyrocopter, where they would always move that carry into the enemy safe lane, invade, just because your own safe lane is too dangerous, right? But Sneyking, I think he's dead? That's the Primal Roar. Universe might still be able to run him down.
Close. Yeah, Universe.
Gonna have to punch him a couple times. I don't think that's gonna work.
One more? Oh, nope. Thought he would get there. Not the case. Meantime, down at bottom, Fear taking a little bit of damage. He was X'd and torrented, but he's got an armlet done already, by the way. We haven't even really gone through item progression all that much. Take a look at the Morphling. He's not got much. I mean, he's not that far behind Fear, but certainly just as a whole, 0-0 and 0's been a part of less compared to cores like SumaiL's Phantom Lancer, who has already got 1,800 gold up. We'll see if he wants to go tier 2 boots, if he wants to go straight to Fusel or what.
Yeah, that's the big difference, is that Viper, like 747, you don't pick a Viper to lose the laning phase, but he definitely did, right? And then SumaiL managed to be a part of some kills, and they get the tier 1 tower at bottom lane. Now he's almost double the net worth. In fact, he's over double the net worth of the Viper. That is the big difference of how the laning phase went. You could say that, like, oh, Morphling, you know, he doesn't have as much net worth because the tier 1 tower, or he got chased out of his lane or whatever, but and that's fair. But the big difference is the impact of our mid laners is going to be dramatically different.
Yep. Across the board, I mean, EG has the 3 highest in terms of net worth. To put that in perspective, that means that Universe's Darkseer is more farmed than the Morphling at this point. That's a disturbing fact if you're a Void Boy or a Void Boy fanboy. And you're talking roughly a 5,000 to 6,000 gold deficit that they found themselves in. And it's one thing to be in that whole 20 minutes in, you're losing, but whatever. We're just 10 minutes in. The laning phase is barely broken apart, and your efficiency has been so poor that you're already falling that far behind. So that's the negative. Let's talk about the positive. What does Void Boys have to rely on? We know they've got the Faceless Void, or actually, no, we don't. We know the Void Boys have the Kunkka. I was looking at the Void photo right next to him, who is a team fight monster. Is he going to be something that can help turn this around off of the initiation of Sneyking?
Yeah, they have really good ganking potential thanks to the X marks the spot, but oh, they're gonna miss out. I think they got scared by seeing Fear, and I guess they should be. They don't really have the nukes to guarantee a kill here against 2 of the tankier heroes. EG are actually just, I think, very smartly leaving the 2 tankiest heroes in this bottom lane. Looks like SumaiL managed to pick up the kill in mid, but I think they're still going to run somebody down here. Looks like it's going to be the Kunkka. Yeah, they've got him.
Well, the Roar was already used, and it was funny. You had just brought up them being scared. And certainly we saw the action fit that as well. They were running away on the assumption that EG was going to chase them down, and they certainly have, as there's another kill tally that Kunkka brought down by the crush from Fear. But as they were running away, they didn't have vision. They had no idea if anyone from EG was even coming. In fact, SumaiL was in mid. Like they had good reason to believe they weren't, and they still spent a Roar on one hero just in case there was going to be somebody else coming. 5-0 rather. Void Boys continuing to just fall apart here in this quality game.
Yeah, you just look at the way that Evil Geniuses, I think it's just cool to watch their movement. The way that they move out of their safe lane, like super early on. They move all 5 heroes to bottom lane. It's kind of coincidental just because SumaiL sees the opportunity to rotate as a Phantom Lancer, but the fact that they move the other 4 heroes outside of SumaiL into bottom lane at 8 minutes, right? By 8 minutes, they do that. Then they leave to the tankier heroes in bottom lane and leave their top. They've abandoned the top lane for the most part. The only time they show up is when the lane actually gets pushed in by a single hero, like the Morphling, who's trying to split push that and just be farm efficient.
Right.
When he does that, they're like, we're not going to give up a free tower. We know you're alone because we just want to fight, so we'll send someone to defend. But otherwise, they just completely abandon their lane. They're focused on controlling the Radiant jungle as well as controlling mid. And there's no farming points. You look at the map, there's no real good farming points for Void Boys at this point. Like, they lost their laning phase, so Viper needs a way back in by being able to farm up his mech, and Morphling still needs a lot of farms. So does Beastmaster, for that matter. But they have very few areas. Most of the areas are neutral camps, like this safe area right here. That's covered up by a ward. Then there's this camp. They see the rotation of these heroes going into the offlane, so they know how many heroes are heading up there and whether or not they can actually save their tier 1 or just give it up. Their whole entire Radiant jungle, this part of the area, completely covered. Like, there's no way you can farm this. And if you do, even if you farm the safe lane here, you can see what happens.
Trouble bottom. That's going to be a track kill. Nope, they'll catch you anyway. And just good movement, as you had mentioned. Just EG's timings, seeing that Void Boys have committed a few folks up the top, etc. And you can't blame the Morphling. I mean, he's farming just under the shadow of his own tier 2. And granted, you certainly, you have to be aware whenever the map's dark. I don't know what you can do. And I think the big problem I'm beginning to have, on top of everything you said, which is 100% on point, is in a perfect world, Void Boys down 0-6, say they go on a 8, they get 8 kills unanswered, they take a couple of towers. Even so, the damage is so done already for EG, and the fact that the Phantom Lancer's so far ahead. He's got his diffusal ready, the pieces are going to be on the way to him shortly. He's also got his boots of travel up, so his ability to split push is going to keep the map in EG's hands, at least for the foreseeable future. And the Morphling can help with that a little bit with very judicious use of the replicate, but at the same time, what does Void Boys have to really answer a 30-40 minute PL? We talked about this during the draft. I just don't see them being able to do so.
They don't really have anything. They're doing the right play right now. They need to avoid fights and go for pickoffs, so moving their 2 supports to top lane is the right play. Unfortunately, they're not going to get PPD, and now they're going to get turned around off by mass TP.
Yep, and this is going to be 2. They just lost 1 in mid. Similar piece is gone. There's a vacuum to bring him right back in. And EG just piling it on at this point. And you begin to wonder, is this going to be a donut game? 4 are down. 10 kills for Evil Geniuses. Exactly 0. Goose egg. For Void Boys, they have not managed to bring 1 hero down from EG this entire game. And outside of a lucky gank, I don't even know how they're going to do it. That's a 2,000 gold swing overall. We're already to 10,000 gold deficit for Void Boys as a whole.
Call it. It's over.
GG. So Goose Egg, EG whitewashes Void Boys. And Cap, I'll tell you what, man, we've seen some good Dota. The problem is the good Dota we're seeing is matched up against not awesome Dota.
Yeah, I think Evil Geniuses, I'm not going to put Void Boys too far out. I think this is a little bit like in the previous matchup that we casted together. I'm gonna put that more on Drinking Boys.
Yeah.
Just.